Hey everyone, how are you doing this week? I hope that last week's video on how to do a close reading was helpful to you and that you've been putting what you learnt in it into practice as you did the week's assessment and hopefully began reading Crossbones. If you have not started reading Crossbones, you can find it on our Google Classroom page, as well as the prompt for the persuasive essay you must write for the competencies assessment. This week, we're going to look at an aspect of literary analysis: identifying and analyzing quotes. You've all been using quotations in your writing for a while now, but the key to selecting suitable quotes for your own writing is being able to identify the context and provide an analysis for quotes from a text independent of any larger writing assessment. Whether you're aware of it or not, you've all been exposed to quote analysis questions in class discussions and assessments. These are times when your teacher provided you with a quote from a text and asked you to say where the quote came from, who said it, what was the significance of the quote, or anything of that sort. To get our brains working, let's start with the do now question. Take a few minutes to think about this quote taken from the book Animal Farm. Think back to when you read the book and complete the following steps. 1. Identify the context of the quote. In other words, who said the quote, who did they say it to, and what influenced the character that said it to utter these words. 2. Identify the significance of the quote. Why was this an important quote in Animal Farm? What impact did it have on the plot, characters, you as a reader, or the overall message of the story? Pause the video now and complete the do now on the Google Classroom page. Okay, now that you've completed the do now, let's go through the analysis together. For the first part of our quote analysis, we need to identify the context of the quote. To do this, let's first think about which character said this line in the book. If you think back to Animal Farm, can you remember which character was the spokesperson for Napoleon and the ruling pigs? That character's name is a nickname given to someone who tattletales on others. If you remembered the character as Squealer, then you're correct. Recall that after Boxer was taken away to the knacker, it was Squealer's job to talk to the other animals to convince them that he had passed away peacefully. Alright, that's it for the first part. Let's think about the second part of the quote analysis question, which asks us to think about the significance of the quote. As I said, Squealer says these words after Boxer is taken away. Now if you remember, a rumor had been going around the farm that Napoleon had sent Boxer to the house slaughterer rather than to the doctor. This was a true rumor, but it was Squealer's job to quell that rumor. This was a larger satire of the propaganda used by Stalin's Soviet Union to keep citizens happy and complacent. Now that our do now is out of the way, and we've got ourselves thinking about quote analysis, we're going to dive into how to construct the most comprehensive answer to quote analysis questions that you may come across on your competencies assessment. Besides identifying who's involved in a quote, we should also ask ourselves the following questions. What is the meaning of the quote? How is this quote connected to another occasion or situation found in the text? And 3, how does this quote develop the characters, themes, style, conflict, or other aspects of the text? Let's take a closer look at each of these questions. 1. What is the meaning of this quote? In other words, this means you should consider the following questions. What are the author or the characters trying to communicate to the reader through this quote? And what influenced the characters or author to say what's in the quote? 2. How is this quote connected to another occasion or situation found in the text? Consider these secondary questions when crafting your answer to this one. Is this quote related to a previous or future event in the text? And what is the quote's significance to the story, argument, or plot of the text? 3. How does this quote develop the characters, themes, style, conflict, or other aspects of the text? To answer this question, you can think through some of these secondary questions. What does the reader learn from the quote about the character's motivations, beliefs, or attitudes? How is the theme supported or developed in the quote? And how is conflict represented in this quote? To demonstrate how these 3 questions can help us write better quote analyses, Let's look at this quote, which occurs near the end of the autobiography of Malcolm X. Considering question 1, Malcolm is communicating his conclusions about how we can achieve a better world through universal truth and justice, not hindered or limited by any particular political party, nationality, race, or belief system. Malcolm's conclusions here were influenced by his Hajj, after which he left Mecca with a more mature understanding of race, identity, and the future of all people. As for question 2, this quote is again connected to Malcolm's Hajj and the effect it had on his beliefs about race and achieving a more equitable world. However, another aspect of this quote is connected to his prior experiences with the Nation of Islam, which he had worked for and eventually broke away from before making his Hajj. The rift between the philosophies of Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, who he perhaps references when he says, "I've had enough of someone else's propaganda," is well documented in the previous chapters of the book. The significance of the quote is showing the reader the matureness gained in Malcolm's outlook and beliefs from when we first saw him as a young person involved in a world of crime, to a fiery public speaker with very hardline opinions on race, and finally to someone who has deeply reflected on the human condition and potential ways forward for society. Malcolm's arguments and beliefs have continually been developed, and this quote is a representation of the final stage of his development as a public speaker engaged in social issues before his death. Lastly, and I'll try to make this point shorter than the others, let's focus on the quote significant to Malcolm's development as a character. As we have already touched upon, up to this point, Malcolm has had a lot of experiences which have influenced his beliefs as a leader, especially concerning race relations and social issues in the United States. As Malcolm has traveled and explored Islam, he has shifted his thinking, and this is most evident in that his writing is reflective of these experiences. This quote is the epitome of this shift and a testament to how flexible he has been to change as a person. To a reader, it offers a model for what a true educated person looks like. Like with this example, with these questions, you're on your way to crafting responses that identify key arguments and details that will allow you to come up with well thought out conclusions. This skill will enrich your understanding of the text and help you produce your own original arguments. To put this into practice, let's give you a short assignment to utilize these questions in a quote analysis. For your assessment this week, we're going to use a quote from the early chapters of Crossbones. The quote is quite short and is as follows. "I've always believed that the difference between your lot and the warlords from whom you took control was your sense of respect. Don't you think that our guests deserve respect?" Read the quote a few times. After you've done that, write a quote analysis response that first identifies the context of the quote and then answers the 3 main questions given to you in this video. What is the meaning of this quote? How is this quote connected to another occasion or situation found in the text? And how does this quote develop the characters, themes, style, conflict, or other aspects of the text? Feel free to use Crossbones as a resource to help you in this assessment. Once you finalize your quote analysis response, please submit it on Google Classroom so that we may give you feedback. Please submit this assignment by the 5th of June. As always, let us know if you have any questions about the assessment or the competencies as a whole. Keep up the good work, and we will see you next week.